Astronauts report it feels good. T-minus 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Beyond the Launch, the podcast that explores what really happens after the deal is signed and the product goes live. Because real impact doesn't come from implementation alone. It comes from intentional, strategic customer success. Hosted by Ivan Whitaker, an experienced executive in sales, customer success, and implementations, including complex 911 and public safety implementations. This podcast goes beyond the launch to uncover what truly takes drive, adoption, measurable outcomes, and long-term success.
Stephen McDonnell is the president and CEO of WilMac Technologies, a Rochester, New York-based company specializing in customer interaction technology and AI for 911 centers, contact centers, and trading floors. A natural communicator with 15 plus years in enterprise sales, Steve has spent his career building teams and driving technology forward. At WilMac, that passion runs deep in the public safety space, where the company has supported PSAPs across the U.S. and Canada for over 30 years. After seeing 911 centers still managing scheduling and forecasting on spreadsheets with no workforce management solution, Steve led the development of WilMac Continuity WFM and MAC, an AI agent built for PSAPs to improve telecommunicator wellness, staffing stability, and call response. Steve, welcome to Beyond the Launch.
Thank you, Ivan. I'm pumped to be here. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
So, Steve, we did a podcast episode together on your podcast, and it landed well with a lot of individuals. I wanted to ask, what gave you the idea to start your own podcast?
Well, for the past probably 5 to 7 years, I've been an avid listener of podcasts. And our marketing team had kind of approached me if I would be willing to do it. We wanted to get kind of brand awareness out there. We wanted to have interesting people on the podcast, and it came together. It's been going on for now 2 years, but it's really kind of taken off and taken a life of its own the past 6 to 8 months. So we love it. You were a great guest. We really appreciated it. It hit home for a lot of people, your episode. So again, thank you. And yeah, it's a podcast world out there now.
Yeah, I mean, and you have a great setup and a lot of listeners. And again, like I said, a lot of people contacted me wanting to know more about your podcast. And so, Stephen, you've been in the space for a long time now. What originally drew you to public safety technology and kept you passionate about it?
So WilMac has been in public safety for 30 plus years. I personally have been around it since I've been at WilMac, but I started my career on the sales side at WilMac before acquiring the company. And I sold into trading floors and contact centers. So I wasn't on the public side, safety side. Knew about it enough. You interact with everyone at the company. We were definitely big emphasis on public safety. So I was always around it. It wasn't until I acquired the company and this new solution kind of started to form that I really dove into public safety. And I think for the most part, what attracted me was some of the surprises that I've really encountered in the past 2 years. I did not think, I always figured I'd walk into a 911 center and it would look like, a Department of Defense with unbelievable technology, top end monitors, everything all over the place. And that really couldn't have been more of the opposite. And then on top of it, the more we started digging in, the more I started learning. I just didn't feel like the people that are working so hard day in, day out, saving everyone's lives here, were really getting maybe the right recognition. And I don't think overall, at least in the United States and parts of Canada, people really understand what goes on in 911 center and what these people are going through. So after really kind of learning all this, talking to a ton of PSAPs, talking to the individuals in there, it really started to develop a passion where I think, if I'm being completely transparent at the beginning, it was like, hey, I see a big gap here. I think we can build some technology and build this company, and it's great. Has kind of turned now into, wow, we're building something that's really going to help 911 people and in general, the greater society, because 911s will be better ran. So now it's kind of turned into a passion project on top of business. So very exciting. I'm very proud of where we've came from and what we're doing right now in PSAPs.
Absolutely. And so if you had to describe WilMac Technologies in one sentence to someone outside of the industry, what would you say and what makes it unique?
In one sentence, it's very tough. So we are a SaaS solutions for PSAPs and regulated industries that have been developing AI native agents at this point. That's what I would say for one sentence.
So you climbed the ranks through sales before stepping into a CEO role, a path that gives you a pretty direct line to the customer experience. How does that frontline background shape the way you lead and make decisions today?
It definitely influences a lot of who I am from that being a CEO. Pretty much my entire career was coming from the sales side, and I worked at Xerox before I came to WilMac. I also sold into kind of the enterprise side. So learning how to navigate and how to sell into PSAPs has been really cool and really unique. And I think our sales guys who've been in the 911 world have good footing in how that's done. But I do, from a company perspective, as a technology builder, everyone at our company is either selling or building. That's a philosophy we have. And if you're not directly doing one of those two things, you're supporting those people. So it has influenced quite a bit, but I think it's a good thing. We're technically a technology and product company, but we're also a sales company. We want to have the best salespeople. We want to have our customers have the best experience when purchasing and partnering with WilMac.
Very good. And so, Stephen, you recently asked a powerful question when I was on your podcast. You asked how many companies actually show up after the go live to support adoption, and why is it so important to you to ask that question? What have you seen happen when organizations don't prioritize that phase?
Well, in general, coming from the enterprise world, you saw it, but you were starting to see more people really build out services to make sure that whatever solution was being implemented, that you were really helping the customer and partnering with the customer to make sure they were taking advantage and getting use out of the solution. When I started diving into PSAPs, I saw more people kind of selling and then leaving. And our philosophy couldn't be more different, as we kind of come from a service provider before we started becoming SaaS and AI. And there's a company called Palantir out there that I've read a lot about and researched, and they have what they call forward deployed engineers. Basically, with their large implementations, they actually have people come to the customer and stay with the customer for 3, 6, 9, 12 months to help build workflows and make sure that solution is working as best as it can. We won't go to that extreme, but any of our UFM implementations, we're more forward deployed leads, I would say, than engineers, but really stay with the customer, partner with the customer, help them out, learn the solution. Especially now we're talking AI. There's workflows that have to be built. You have to customize it to each customer. And I feel like if you're just selling it and then taking off, especially in the world of AI, it's going to be very difficult for said customer or partner to take advantage and really get the best use out of the solutions. So it's very important to us that we have that method, that when we partner with one of our customers and we sell the solution, that one of our guys or one of our forward deployed leads is going to be there for a month, for 3 months, for 6 months. Now, we might not have to be on site like in some of the enterprise world, but we're there working very closely with them to get the most out of our solutions.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. With AI, not just AI, but any technology entering the space today, the demand on 911 centers is so high to meet the needs of the public. And so in any tech failure in the 911 space, we face a lot of pressure and challenges. So thanks for explaining a post-live environment that would make, I think, listeners feel comfortable with your solution. And going into your solution and WilMac Technologies, can you tell us a little bit about WilMac? What are some of the newer innovations and initiatives that you're doing today?
Yeah, I'll dive right into Continuity, WFM, and Mac, two solutions that have been built in the past year and a half, 2 years specifically for 911 centers. So one of our customers up in Canada, Toronto Police Services, came to us requesting some help with their scheduling and forecasting. There is solutions in the enterprise world that are termed workforce management solutions. So in any commercial contact center, so insurance, finance, retail, whatever you want to call it, if you have over 20 seats, you are using there's a solution like this. So it's a workforce management solution. It's going to schedule you. It's going to forecast you. It's going to catch your highs and lows. It's going to help with vacation, all that sort of stuff. It's table stakes for every other industry and then for whatever reason, which we still haven't really figured out, the most important call taking industry doesn't have it. So we were very surprised to find that out. And we were lucky enough to be able to kind of partner with TPS and have them really help us out and say, this is exactly what we need. And this is why those solutions that are built for commercial contact centers don't work for 911. Between having our expertise in 911, and then we also had expertise in WFM solutions because of our enterprise experience, bringing all of that together was kind of a perfect storm for WilMac to build the solution. We did a lot of research. So we traveled around, met with a ton of 911 centers to really get what exactly they need for their scheduling and forecasting. And it was truly amazing to see how many people that were still on Excel sheets. Some of the largest 911 centers in the country using Excel sheets and spending hours upon hours trying to build this stuff out. And what it really does is it's just time away from supervisors and dispatchers and operators where they should be doing what they're meant to be doing instead of trying to figure out the schedule. We ended up building WFM, Continuity WFM. It launched probably this past December. And then 3 or 4 months prior to that, the AI kick was coming full force, and we had been bringing in some AI engineers, and it made sense for us to build a Mac, which we believe will be an autonomous AI agent at some point. But right now, he's kind of more like a co-pilot within WFM to really take full advantage of the technology today. So Mac goes along with our Continuity WFM, and you can just use your phone. You can type it in your computer. Hey, I want to take off next Thursday, and all the back stuff's already done. So you don't have to call 10 people. You don't have to do all the checks. And then the forecasting is the other big thing. It integrates with your CAD and it integrates with your call handling. And so it's going to be able to work dynamically or fluidly with your schedule instead of kind of today, it's a static schedule. It is what it is right now, as it's going to be tomorrow at 3, where ours can actually change with real-time events going on. So those, I would say, are the two solutions that work very well together, obviously, that we're pumped about, that were built specifically for 911. We are finding out that there's other parts kind of in public safety, including patrol and police, that are having the similar issues. That kind of scheduling hasn't been a focus, unfortunately, for technology vendors to come in and help these industries out. Whereas all the commercial contact centers have been using this stuff as table stakes for 20, 30 years.
Wow.
So
Yeah. I have to agree with you, Stephen. Scheduling, especially in a 911 center, it could be a nightmare. And I've been to many of dispatch centers that, like you said, they're using Excel sheets. We are behind. What I'd like to know is, making that transition to your solution, what are some of the major advantages of getting away from those Excel sheets and stepping into your arena?
One of the biggest things is just time. So we have an ROI calculator that you can go to on our website, and it is very easy to see how much time just is completely, I don't want to say wasted, but built into supporting the scheduling, whether that's the supervisor or the call takers and dispatchers. So that's the number one. It feeds right into wellness. It's being talked about, probably not enough. That was another thing you asked me earlier. It is a tough job. I mean, as you know, these calls can be traumatic. And if you don't have a schedule that's allowing you certain breaks and built in, and maybe something changed because you just took a real tough call and you have to flag it and the schedule has to adjust to get someone else in there. If you don't have that, it keeps kind of piling up like a flywheel almost. And once the wellness kind of goes down, then someone quits, then finding people to replace it. So it kind of just, I think in general, it should be table skates for the industry, but I think it hits so well on wellness, and whatever we can do as a business community and as a community of giving 911 folks the best technology to make sure they have the best support to do their job, I think is 100% needed in this industry. So those two, time and wellness, I would say are the big differentiators from using a solution like ours to just a Excel or a simple scheduling tool.
Thank you for that, Stephen. And so, from your perspective, what are the biggest barriers PSAPs face when it comes to true adoption of new technology, not just implementation?
Yeah, it's interesting. So now that I've been kind of diving into this, I would say there's a couple barriers. One, that the purchasing process is a little different than in the enterprise world. So I think in PSAPs, you really have to be sophisticated buyers and learn you have to sell within to the board or whoever it might be. And I think that's difficult. And that's not necessarily the case in enterprise world that has a budget and they might just have to get it by one boss. So I think that's a barrier. I think the other barrier is that the technology has been so far behind that it takes a while to get it going. I think another thing which has been surprising, some folks are super progressive and then some are saying, hey, I need to see your product out with like 10 other customers before I even have a conversation. If everyone takes that approach, then you never get new technology.
That's right.
So there's a couple barriers within that, but I feel kind of a groundswell and I feel some momentum of it really changing in PSAPs. You're starting to see more AI companies come out. I think it's also on us. We need to be adaptive of how we sell. I think, in the enterprise world, we never really did pilots too often. I think that's really important in PSAPs. Throw a pilot in there and show them, hey, I can't live with this solution. I need to go find a way to purchase it. Give them a chance to use it and see it and not make it so difficult for the customers to really know if this solution is going to be for them. So it's on us as well to make sure we make the process as easy as possible.
Stephen, you mentioned something that's very important about kind of some of the attitudes that are in a public safety environment, kind of waiting to see what others' views are of a particular resource. And what that does, or what that mentality does, is keeps us away from being at the table of creation. And so I want to partner with vendors to basically give them input on the barriers, issues, and challenges that we're having versus allowing 4 or 5 majors working with vendors on how all of this should be. And so even I'm encouraging other PSAP directors and those in the industry to step outside the bow and really work as a creative partner rather just sitting back and waiting and being at effect of what's coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I couldn't agree with you more. Our technology philosophy is a little different than maybe, the bigger players who are going to kind of say, hey, this is how PSAP should do it. I'm going to build it and then I'm going to tell them this is how we do it. Where we've kind of take the approach with our past products and this product, hey, I'm going to talk to as many PSAPs as possible and get as much input as possible. So the pilots that we have going today, it's not like, oh, here you go. I hope you like it. We'll help you. It's like, oh, it's missing this feature? Okay. If that's really something that could benefit all 911 centers, we'll go build it right away. Let's get it
Yes.
in your pilot. And that's also the
Yeah.
nice thing about being flexible and with AI helping with dev work. But I think it's very important for the technology vendors to work side by side, as you said, with you guys and get your feedback on how these products should work.
Absolutely. And so, Stephen, during our podcast session, I was pleasantly surprised at some of your questions because you were really stepping into the area of adoption. And so how does WilMac Technologies approach adoption differently than traditional vendors, especially in the crucial months after the deployment?
Yeah. So I think if I step back and kind of tell the quick story about WilMac before we started building products, we were a reseller. So part of our value prop was the implementation and support. So we kind of come from that world of, hey, our biggest value is making sure we implement this solution perfectly for our customers and then make sure we're there for our customers to support it. So even before we got into building products and building technology, that was a huge value prop for us. As we've evolved and especially AI has really kind of driven me personally in this philosophy, and WilMac now has it. It is so important not only for the solution to be working better, potential other areas of the solution that Mr. Customer, Mr. Partner could tell us about if you're there working with them, and then the relationship. And it's a true partnership. And you talk customer vendor all the time, but you really want it to be a partnership. And you want it to be open enough too, where the customer feels like, hey, you know what? I think if you had this in your product, it would really benefit us and probably all your other customers, and have those conversations. Look at the different, we should be able to understand our customers' workflows. And if we see gaps, work with that customer to figure out what we could put in our solution to benefit them. So for us, that's always how it's been. And we've been developing our own products for 6 years now, both, and we have one product set, Continuity Replay for enterprise, and now this Continuity WFM for PSAPs. Both those are customer-led, customer-driven products. I'm not going to sit up here and say that I was like a Steve Jobs and had this vision of this product is perfect for PSAPs. That's how it worked. It was very customer coming to us, and then us going out in the field and learning and seeing what the customer needs. So that's been our philosophy, and I think customers appreciate that. I think the worst thing you can do is sell a plug and play and then say, see you later, and check in 2 years later like everything's hunky-dory.
Right.
And again, the better relationship you can have and the more open and honesty, even when issues come up, you tend to be able to solve them a lot quicker.
Absolutely. Stephen, so what's your personal mission and purpose as a leader in this space when it comes to helping agencies succeed beyond just technology deployment?
Yeah, I think we want to be thought as a very innovative company helping public safety harness and utilize AI for good. And one of the reasons I think our EFM tool works so well and bringing AI into public safety for that is wellness. I'm going to harp on it a few times, but it's amazing to me to see, I don't want to say lack of support, but there should be more support for our 911 agencies, and there just isn't that. And if we can bring to the table a solution that hundreds or even thousands of 911 centers are making their scheduling and making their forecasting, making their time off just that much easier so they can focus on what they really need to focus on without being stressed, I think that would be wonderful. And right now for these two solutions, that's our mission. We feel like we'll start with the United States and Canada, eventually patrol police cars if they're having that issue. It's been very eye-opening to me to see that the most important agencies we have in the United States, literally saving lives, aren't getting some of the technology and support that all the commercial businesses are getting. And I don't know if that's lack of funding, lack of awareness, but if we can just be a part of that in pushing this great technology into these incredible agencies that literally help save all our lives in the United States, I think we would be very happy with that.
So, Stephen, you've mentioned some initiatives that your company is working on now. Why are these initiatives particularly important right now, and what problem are they solving that hasn't been solved well before?
I think we talked about the 911 Saves Act while we were on our podcast, but I think the timing with that going on, I think publicly, maybe people are realizing, hey, a lot of the employees that work in 911 centers might not get the same resources or benefits as other public and public safety people, such as police or fire. So I think the timing of that has probably worked out well with our launch, but really it goes back to what I would call, just table stakes solutions. We're not reinventing the wheel. We do think adding Mac, our AI agent, puts it into a different category, but public safety generally hasn't had workforce management solutions. They've had a couple scheduling tools, I would call it, but they haven't had workforce management solutions. And that's what we're bringing. These solutions have been around for 20, 30 years in regular contact centers. So we have urgency right now too, to say, hey, let's get out there. Let's make sure we're educating everybody on what they're missing out on and what workforce management solutions can do, specifically continuity and Mac, and how much easier it can make their lives. So that's kind of the initiative right now that we're pushing hard. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Mac. Technically, we'd want Mac to be standalone. So he could be autonomous and someone could purchase Mac as the AI agent and you could run your scheduling and forecasting through there. So we'll see if that ever comes to fruition. I think people do like to look at a calendar and have kind of the UI, which is WFM. So, but both exciting things, and we're excited. Again, probably should have been years ago that someone brought this to PSAPs, but here we are right now and we're all in.
So, Stephen, you mentioned forecasting And that's big in my world. I love data. Using your tool, what are some of the things that directors are finding now that while they're on Excel sheets, they couldn't see before?
Yeah, I mean, I think bidding also is big, but for forecasting, it's cool because the more data you can connect to it, the better it can forecast. So we have a lot of people that are able to get legacy data out of their CADs and call handling. So we can actually start running the algorithms and throwing it through AI before we even implement it. And by the time we're implemented, we have the forecast moving already. So we know when the peaks and valleys are coming. We know when what happens. FIFA has been huge right now. We're working with some of the cities that are hosting that, and those are pretty big events, and they have to schedule accordingly to that. So being able to have that data is absolutely huge. The forecasting part of our solution does not work as well if it doesn't have the data. It needs the data. It needs those integrations to CAD and call handling. You could forecast a bit, but you can't take full advantage without that. So that's been great. And honestly, I've been pleasantly surprised the other technology vendors in public safety, the CADs and the call handling vendors, they're pretty easy to work with as far as doing integrations. Where I come from a world in the enterprise world where people make it a little bit more difficult to integrate technologies together. So that's been great that the PSAPs and the vendors, for the most part, are trying to work together.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm really starting to see in this space where when I'm reaching out to CADs and I'm reaching out to our other vendors, the ability to be able to work together. There used to be a competition that I see that's dissolving a bit, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing in the partnerships. One of the things that you did mention, and I kind of wanted to mention or kind of go into this arena, is when we're looking at those trends and we're looking at wellness as a part of those trends. I'm really paying close attention to the 12-hour shifts. And I know that the feeling is that you could have less individuals work in a 12-hour shift, and that's true. But there's another side to that when we start looking at things like FML and sick leave. So having that type of tool, being able to look and then analyze to see from a wellness perspective what's happening, to see from a trend perspective if we make subtle shifts, maybe infuse a couple of 8 hours and 12 hours and see what happens. I think a tool like this is very beneficial.
So it's been nice to see. So what the tool does with the forecasting, we have human in the loop. So it's not going to just go off and do something autonomously, but it suggests, hey, you might want to switch these days or maybe completely away from 12 hours. And part of what we do, part of why I think you need forward deployed leads in there, those first few months, you're putting in all the information, and there's a lot of unionized places that you have to put in all that information to make sure it stays in the guardrail. But even with all that information, we've seen it. We've had a couple pilots where it came back and said, hey, you should be switching how you're scheduled. And to everyone's credit, we thought we'd get pushback. Like, we can't do that. That's way too much. And sure enough, if they see the data and they see the points, and people have been like, all right, let's see how it looks. And I think that's a good, what we call human in the loop, which means the AI is just not going to go and do stuff that it thinks it's going to benefit. It'll say, hey, this is what I think, but you approve it or tell me not to do it. But yeah, so those are definitely the types of things that have been interesting to see. And I don't know, you know better than I do. I'm sure 911 centers have been doing things the same way for a long time. So it's tough tough to make changes.
It is. Yes, definitely it is. And so looking ahead, what does great adoption look like in a PSAP 3 to 5 years from now? And how does WilMac position itself to support that future?
Yeah. So, I mean, we look at this as kind of a vertical niche, the 911 center. So it's not like we're going to build this solution and then go try to sell it to insurance agencies. We look at it and say, hey, we are going to focus on 911 centers. Off to our peripheral right or left might be patrol cars or EMS, but within the public safety world. So I think we want to see, we have a lot of pilots going on right now. We should have our first full paying real customer in the next month, transitioning from a pilot. Right now, for the most part, we're working with the large PSAPs just because the ROI is just so aggressive, and they're used to crazy schedules with the amount of people. But we want to build it so every PSAP can take advantage of this. Obviously, if you have 5 people, you probably don't need something like this, but anything over 20 people, this will solve a lot of issues. So we think we could we can have a large adoption, but we also want to roll this out carefully and make sure our customers are getting what they need. We have not taken any outside money. We are completely private, funded by ourselves, so we can do this the right way without worrying about having to grow too quickly and just try to sell this all over the place. We want to work with the right 911 centers that really truly feel it's a partnership with us so we can build this product to be better and better and better. So I think that definitely helps us, that we're not like, hey, we took this money from a PE firm and now we have to grow to 100 million within the next year. We got to hire a bunch of salespeople and sell this as quick as possible. We don't have that. So we're going to do this the correct way. And right now, make sure those very large PSAPs that we're working with, make sure this works perfectly for them. And then we'll start bringing it down.
Good stuff. And so if you could give one piece of advice to PSAP leaders who are about to implement new technology and want to maximize adoption, what would that be?
I would say really look at the technology vendors, especially now with AI becoming so big, as your partners. Try to genuinely partner with them and not look at them as much as a vendor that you're just buying a solution from. If you can have a true partnership and you can have a true deployment support stage and a maintaining the relationship as these products evolve, because that's the other thing with AI, the products are going to continuously evolve even when it's already deployed. So you're always going to be talking to each other. Where in the past, before AI came, sometimes they'd just be deployed and, all right, it's good to go. Takes you a month to learn and then see you later. I think it's going to be extremely important in our new world that the vendor and customer really form a true partnership and work together moving forward. And that, obviously I'm saying it from a technology perspective, vendor side, but I would say that those are the types of customers we want to work with that genuinely want a partnership.
Everyone, Stephen McDonnell, President and CEO of WilMac Technologies. Stephen, is there anything before we get off the session today that you would want our listeners to know about what's coming up with WilMac, the future, anything?
Yeah, so we are going to be going to a lot of conferences. We've already kind of hit the road recently, but I know we're going to Florida next week. We'll be at all the NINA and APCO shows around the country and the international ones. So please come by our booth, say hello, look at the solution, or just talk with us. We love to talk and learn about the industry. And this has been fantastic, Ivan. I really appreciate what you're doing. I think Beyond the Launch is the best podcast in public safety industry. So continue your great work. We got to get our podcast booth up to speed because yours looks phenomenal.
Thank you. I appreciate it. WilMac Technologies, the podcast, is just phenomenal. Some excellent guests. And what they're doing now is bringing in experts in the 911 industry. Again, Stephen, thanks for joining the podcast, and we will definitely be talking again.
Awesome, Ivan. Thank you.